Before we start, please make sure to like this video and hit this subscribe button, so you never miss a story like this. And also comments where you are watching from, how many sons and daughters you have. Thanks.
My name is Noah Grant, and I guess you have everything now, huh? That's what my cousin Tyler sneered as he shoved me against the garage wall last Thanksgiving. Look at you, he growled, eyes narrowing. Showing up here like you belong. Newsflash, loser, no one invited you. They never do. His voice was sharp, laced with that same condescension I grew up hearing at every family gathering I wasn't welcome to. Except this time, I hadn't come for the food or the fake hugs. I came to say goodbye to my grandfather, the only one who ever gave a damn about me. I'm here to pay my respects, I said through clenched teeth, brushing off my jacket where he'd wrinkled it. To Grandpa. Not to you. So maybe try shutting up for once. Big talk from someone who was barely family, Tyler snapped. You were just the kid from the basement apartment. You really think Grandpa saw you as anything more than charity? I felt my fists clench before I could stop them. Oh, I don't have to think, I shot back. He told me. While you were too busy snorting your trust fund up your nose, I was the one driving him to his appointments. Feeding him when your mom was too busy posting Instagram selfies from Bali. A small crowd had gathered in the driveway now, aunts with wine glasses, uncles pretending not to hear, cousins whispering. But no one said a word. No one ever did when Tyler started barking. Because Tyler was the golden one. The one with the fancy job title he never earned, the one with a last name that still meant something in this town. And me? I was Noah, the charity case, the kid mom brought home after her divorce like an afterthought. You think you're better than us now? Tyler hissed, stepping closer, breath reeking of beer and bitterness. Showing up in that cheap suit like you're some kind of heir? The word hit like a bullet. He'd said it with mockery. But deep down, he knew. I didn't say anything. I didn't have to. Because the lawyer was already parked down the street, waiting for us to gather. Waiting to read the will. That's when Aunt Beth finally stepped forward, sloshing her rose and wagging a manicured finger. Don't make this about you, Noah. This is family business. I stared her dead in the eyes. Exactly. Which is why I'm here. She scoffed, threw her hands up. You were never really part of this family, Noah. You're just. What? I interrupted. Say it. Say it out loud, Beth. She hesitated, but the poison was already rising in her throat. You were just the charity kid. A pity project. You think because Dad let you call him Grandpa that it meant something? Please. The crowd winced, and for a second, even Tyler looked like he'd gone too far. But I smiled. Not because it didn't hurt. Oh, it did more than I'd let them see. But because this, all of this, was exactly what Grandpa knew would happen. And that's why he left me everything. Everything. The estate. The business shares. The cabin. The trust fund. Even the old Mustang Tyler always bragged about inheriting. All mine. Because the man they ignored in his last years remembered exactly who stood by him when everyone else vanished. I guess we'll find out what he thought of me soon enough, I said, stepping away from Tyler and smoothing out my shirt. The lawyer's waiting. Let's go hear what Grandpa had to say. The crowd buzzed with confusion. Lawyer? Beth blinked. What lawyer? I turned over my shoulder. The one he hired right after you canceled his birthday last year to go to Coachella. You could hear a pin drop. And I hadn't even told them the real twist yet. Because in that will, Grandpa didn't just leave me the assets. He left me the truth. And a letter. One that would rip their little perfect family illusion apart, one lie at a time. But I'd wait. Let them squirm a little. Let them listen to the lawyer's voice tremble when he read the first line. To my grandson Noah, the only one who ever made me feel like I wasn't alone, this is for you. You should have seen Beth's face when she realized her name wasn't even mentioned until the last paragraph. And even then, only to say, "She gets nothing. Not after what she did. I didn't come here to fight. But I wasn't going to walk away from one either. Not this time. Not after years of being left off the invite list. Of sitting alone while they laughed over holiday meals. Of being talked down to, ignored, and shoved aside. They thought family was something you inherited. Grandpa knew better. Family is something you earn. And I did. The hard way. Now, I was about to show them what it meant to be remembered. Because sometimes, the quiet one, the forgotten one, the one they leave out of every photo, ends up being the one who writes the final chapter. And mine? Was just getting started. The last time I saw Grandpa, he was sitting in that squeaky old chair by the window. The sun hit his face just right, and for a moment, I could pretend he was still the same man who used to lift me onto his shoulders at the lake. But he wasn't. His hands shook when he held his tea. His voice cracked like broken glass. Still, his eyes, sharp, steel blue, never wavered. They saw right through everything. Especially me. "Noah," he said, smiling gently, "you came?" "Of course I came, Grandpa," I said, dropping my bag by the door. "You called." "I came." He nodded, then coughed hard. The kind of cough that rattles in your bones, the kind you know isn't going away. I sat beside him, trying not to look scared. He hated pity. "Not many people do that anymore," he said, eyes scanning the empty room. "Come when I call." I didn't ask who he meant. I already knew. Aunt Beth hadn't been there in weeks. Tyler only popped in to ask for more money. The rest? Well, they were always too busy. Too tired. Too entitled. He looked down at his hands for a long moment before he said it. "I need to tell you something." I waited, holding my breath. I made a decision. One they're not going to like. One you might not even like. I looked at him, confused. "What kind of decision?" "The kind that puts you on the map," he said, reaching into the drawer next to him. He pulled out an envelope. "But also paints a target on your back." Inside was the will. Not the final draft, not yet. But close. He showed me the section with my name on it, underlined 3 times in shaky handwriting. And then, he did something I didn't expect. He looked scared. "I didn't do this because I had to," he said. "I did it because you earned it. Every visit. Every ride to the hospital. Every time you listened when I didn't even know what I was saying anymore." I blinked, throat tightening. "You're the only one who made me feel like I still mattered." He paused, then added with a bitter smile, "And the only one who never asked for a damn cent." I couldn't say anything. I just sat there, eyes stinging, heart heavy. "You remember when you were 8 and your mom brought you here after your dad took off?" I nodded slowly. I remembered it too well. The silence. The embarrassment. The feeling of not belonging. "You sat on those steps all day, didn't move. Wouldn't talk. I thought, he's going to break. But you didn't. You waited." He reached out, and his hand gripped mine with surprising strength. I saw it then. What you were made of. Not like the others. They were born with silver spoons and still complain they're starving. You were given nothing, and still gave back. That broke me. I looked away, wiped my face fast. "You know they'll come after me for this, right?" I asked quietly. He chuckled. "Let them. Beth never liked me anyway, not really. And Tyler? He was always chasing what he never earned." Then he turned serious again. "But you're going to do something with it. Not just buy fancy cars or post pictures from yachts. You'll build something. You'll remember." He pulled out a second envelope, thinner this time. "This one's for after I'm gone. Don't open it until the reading." I hesitated. What's in it? His voice dropped. The truth. I didn't understand at the time. But I took it. Pressed it into my coat pocket like it was made of gold. And when I hugged him goodbye that night, I didn't know it would be the last time. If I had known, I would have stayed. I would have read to him like he used to read to me. I would have asked more questions. Held his hand longer. But I didn't know. And 2 days later, he was gone. No big family announcement. No candlelight vigil. Just a quiet death in a quiet room while the rest of them toasted champagne on a beach. I got the call from the nurse. Not Beth. Not Tyler. The nurse. That's when I knew. I wasn't just a visitor anymore. I was the only one who had truly been there. And now, I was the only one left to carry the weight of what he left behind. The conference room was colder than it needed to be. Not from the air conditioning, from the people inside it. Aunt Beth sat at the end of the table, her oversized sunglasses still on, like we didn't know she was hiding more than just her puffy eyes. Tyler was leaning back in his chair, chewing gum like it was his last meal, smug as ever. His fiancée, Chanel or Crystal or whatever her name was, sat beside him scrolling through her phone, not even pretending to care. The lawyer was the only one who looked me in the eye when I walked in. Noah, he nodded, please, take a seat. Beth didn't even glance up. Oh look, the stray showed up. Tyler laughed under his breath. Don't take it personal, man. It's probably just a formality thing. Grandpa left you something small, like a watch or a pen. I told you not to get your hopes up. I said nothing. I just sat. Calm. Quiet. But inside, my heart was hammering like it was trying to break out of my chest. The lawyer opened a thick leather folder. Per the request of the deceased, Mr. Charles Whitmore, will begin the reading of his final will and testament. Beth finally removed her glasses, eyes rimmed with red, but not from grief. From sleepless greed. The lawyer cleared his throat. Mr. Whitmore made several amendments to his will within the last 6 months. All revisions were legally documented and witnessed. Beth scoffed. Oh, please. That old man could barely walk, let alone sign anything legally binding. I didn't flinch. The lawyer continued. To my daughter, Bethany Whitmore. Beth straightened, smugness crawling back into her expression. I leave the collection of family albums and my mother's wedding ring. The room went still. What? Beth blinked, leaning forward. That's it? That's all? To my grandson, Tyler Whitmore. Tyler elbowed his girl, whispering something with a stupid grin. I leave the red canoe he admired as a child, and my collection of vinyl records. No, no, no. This is some kind of joke, Beth snapped, sitting upright. Where's the property? The accounts? The shares in the company? The lawyer calmly flipped the page. And to my grandson by choice, Noah. The room dropped 10 degrees. I leave full ownership of my home, all investment accounts, 80% of my business shares, and power of attorney over any remaining estate assets. He alone has demonstrated the loyalty, humility, and character that this family has long forgotten. I didn't move. Beth erupted. You've got to be kidding me. This is insanity. That boy isn't even blood. Tyler slammed his palm on the table. This is bullshit. I gave up my entire summer internship to be here for Grandpa's birthday. I flew first class for him. Yeah, I said quietly, but you left before the cake was even cut. Beth shot up from her seat. This isn't over. I want proof. Signatures. Dates. There's no way he'd give everything to someone who showed up twice a year with a stupid smile and a sympathy card. I didn't show up twice a year, I said, standing now. I showed up every week. I brought groceries. Took him to dialysis. I helped him walk when you didn't even call to check if he was still breathing. Tyler was shaking his head. What did you do, huh? Trick him? Feed him lies? Maybe get him to change the will when he was sick and confused? The lawyer held up a hand. All decisions were reviewed and approved by a court-appointed advocate. The will is legally binding. Beth glared at me, her voice low and venomous. You think you earned this? You think being the charity case made you some kind of saint? You were never one of us, Noah. Never will be. I looked her dead in the eyes. You're right, I said. I was never one of you. And for the first time in my life, I was grateful for that. Beth grabbed her bag and stormed toward the door. I'll fight this. I'll bury you in court. Tyler just stared at me, red-faced, seething. You'll lose it all. You think you won? You just painted a target on your back. I didn't ask for this, I said. But I'm not ashamed of it either. The lawyer slid a small envelope across the table toward me. And lastly, he said, Mr. Whitmore asked that this be read privately by Noah, only after the will has been shared. I took it slowly, hands trembling. Tyler snorted. Let me guess. Another cheesy letter about how special you are. I didn't answer. Because I knew what was inside was more than words. It was the real inheritance. The one nobody else would understand. I sat in my car for 15 minutes before I even opened the envelope. It felt heavier than paper should. Like it had weight. Like it knew what it was holding. My name was written across the front in Grandpa's shaky, blocky handwriting. Noah. Just like that. All capital letters. No dear, no to. Just a name. My name. My fingers hovered at the seal. What if it changed everything again? What if it explained why he gave me the estate, or worse, took it back? I finally tore it open. Inside, a folded piece of stationery. Lined. No logo. Just ink. Just truth. Noah. If you're reading this, then I've gone. And if you're still sitting there wondering why I left you everything, stop. I didn't do it to make a statement. I did it because you were the only one who ever treated me like a person and not a transaction. You came when no one else did. Not because you wanted anything, but because you meant it. You brought me coffee even when I forgot your birthday. You sat with me when I didn't have the strength to talk. You mowed my lawn after work, never asking for a dime. That kind of loyalty? It deserves to be recognized. And more than that, it deserves to be rewarded. But this letter isn't just about what I gave you. It's about something I never said. My hands started trembling again. I paused, looked out the windshield. The sky was still gray. Still angry, like it knew something was coming too. I wasn't there the day your mom dropped you off. I was in Dallas for a meeting. When I came home, there was just a note on the table and a baby in the crib. She said she couldn't do it anymore. I thought she meant life. But she meant you. And I was angry at first. Furious, even. I didn't want to raise another child. I had already done my time, made my mistakes. But then I saw you. Noah, you weren't just another mouth to feed. You were a second chance. My breath caught. That's why I never said anything when the family whispered behind your back. That's why I always made sure you had a seat even when Beth tried to push you out. You weren't my blood. But you were my boy. And between blood and loyalty, I chose loyalty. Every time. The world around me blurred. Not because it got darker, because my eyes did. You probably spent your whole life wondering why you never fit. Why the others rolled their eyes when you talked, or called you a charity case when they thought I wasn't listening. Let me tell you now, you didn't fit because you weren't broken like they were. You didn't lie. You didn't fake love. You didn't ask for anything and still gave everything. That's what made you different. That's what made you mine. I folded the letter in half. Then in half again. Then again. Pressed it to my chest like it was the last warm thing in the world. I wasn't crying because I was sad. I was crying because for the first time in my life, someone really saw me, and still chose me anyway. That letter didn't make me rich. The will didn't make me powerful. It just proved that even in a world full of people who treated me like nothing, I was something to someone. And somehow, that felt heavier than any bank account ever could. I went back into the house that night. The house that was now legally mine. I opened the door and didn't just walk into property, I walked into memory. Every crack in the floorboard, every creak in the stairs, every dusty frame on the wall, it all spoke. And I answered. I pulled out my phone. Dialed. Beth didn't pick up. Neither did Tyler. I knew they wouldn't. But I left one message, one that wasn't for them. Not really. This was never about the money, I said into the voicemail. He gave me something none of you even noticed was missing, his heart. You treated it like an account balance. I treated it like a gift. And now I get to carry it. All of it. Every word, every memory, every damn quiet Sunday we spent together when you had better things to do. I hung up. Not out of anger, but closure. Because the real inheritance wasn't what he left behind. It was what he helped me become. They didn't knock. Of course they didn't. I was upstairs going through Grandpa's drawer, not for money, just photos, when I heard the door slam against the wall like it owed them something. Beth's heels hit the hardwood like a warning shot. Noah, she screamed. Get your down here. I didn't run. I didn't even hurry. I walked. Slowly. Because for once, they could wait. By the time I reached the bottom of the stairs, they were all there. Beth. Tyler. His wife, some cousin I didn't even know by name. All of them red-faced, eyes blazing, hands empty but voices loaded. Beth was shaking a stack of papers in her hand. Do you think this is funny? You think this little stunt makes you something you're not? I didn't flinch. What stunt? Grandpa left you everything. Tyler barked. Everything. Not a split. Not a share. Everything. Beth shoved the will in my chest like it was a weapon. He was old. He didn't know what he was doing. He must have been confused. He would never do this in his right mind. I looked down at the will. Then back at them. He wasn't confused. He was clearer than he'd ever been. Beth narrowed her eyes. You manipulated him. That's what this is. You wormed your way in, played nurse, played victim, and now you're sitting on our inheritance like a king. Tyler stepped forward. We're contesting it. You think this is over? It's not. I've got lawyers. I took a breath and finally said the one thing I'd never dared to say until now. He chose me because you never showed up. Silence. Not long, just enough to sting. You only called when you needed something. You only came when he wrote checks. I was the one who cleaned his oxygen machine. I was the one who helped him into the shower. I was the one who sat with him when he forgot what day it was, and just needed someone to not leave. You were pitiful, Beth hissed. That's what you were. And he felt guilty. That's why he threw you a bone. I stepped closer now. No yelling. No curse words. Just truth. He didn't throw me anything. He passed it on. He passed it to the one person who never made him feel like a burden. The one person who didn't ask what he could give, but who he was. Beth's face twisted. You're not even his real grandson. I know, I said softly. And that's what makes this even worse for you, doesn't it? Her eyes flickered. Because I wasn't born into this family. I earned it. And you? You were born with his blood and wasted every second of it. Tyler threw a hand up. This is bull. No, I said. This is truth. He wrote it in his letter. Every word. He saw through the fake hugs, the hollow holidays, the way you all disappeared the moment he stopped giving out cash. You used him. And now you're mad because the person you thought was disposable ended up being the only one who stayed. Beth's voice cracked. You think you're better than us? No, I said. But I was better to him. And he noticed. I walked to the desk and pulled out the envelope. The one with Grandpa's letter. Do you want to see it? I asked. Do you want to read what he really thought of all of you? Because he didn't just leave me money, he left me his words. And trust me, they were clearer than any will. Beth's lip quivered. Tyler turned away. His wife looked down like the floor might swallow her. I placed the letter gently back in the drawer. You're angry because this house, this land, the money, it was never really about love for you. It was about winning. About getting your share. But Grandpa didn't give this to the highest bidder. He gave it to the one who never asked for anything. That's the part you'll never understand. Beth looked at me like she wanted to scream, but nothing came out. I stepped toward the door. You can contest the will. Hire the lawyers. Spread whatever rumors you want. But at the end of the day, I was there. And you weren't. They turned to leave. One by one. No goodbyes. No apologies. Just bitter silence trailing behind them like smoke. As I shut the door behind them, I didn't feel triumphant. I didn't feel rich. I felt, still. Like something had finally settled. I wasn't the outsider anymore. I was the one left standing. Not because I fought harder. Not because I schemed better. But because when it mattered most, I showed up. And in the end, that's what family really means.